Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to build an effective digital community in 2024. We're in each other's company for around 30 minutes or so, and we're really excited to give you some great insight into the importance of digital communities and how you can build your very own. My name is Katie Rumbelow, and I'm a marketing executive here at Changing Social. And with me today, I have my wonderful colleague and UK and Europe Customer Success Manager, Matt Wally. I'll drop our emails in the chat for you now. Please feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, and I will be monitoring the Q&A for you today. Before we get started, a quick note about housekeeping. In a particular couple of options that may help during this webinar. If you would like to see live captions during this presentation, please turn the feature on using the settings icon and choose captions/subtitles from the list. You can then select your preferred language for the captions. You're also invited to ask any questions during this webinar. This can be done by selecting the chat icon and then selecting the box showing Ask a Question. You can then type your question and choose whether to add your name or ask anonymously and send it by selecting the send option shown as a paper plane icon. We will answer your questions at the end of the webinar. Today, we're going to be discussing promises to be enlightening and today's discussion promises to be an enlightening journey into the world of digital community building. We'll begin by discussing its evolution and key changes over the last 4 years. Next, we'll dive into what are digital champions and why digital champions communities are important. From there, we'll be exploring strategies that you can implement for effective community building and how to engage or potentially re-engage your members. And then finally, we'll map out the journey ahead with success stories, lessons learned, and best practices. Before we get started, I just want to talk to you a little bit about our team and our deep understanding of tech adoption and a real love for helping our clients succeed. We've been able to make a positive difference for our businesses across the globe. We genuinely believe in making workplaces where people can come together, learn and grow. Our whole team is committed to improving the way employees work and interact, pushing for smart digital changes and making sure our clients get the best of their tech investments. And again, just a little bit more about Changing Social and what we are. We're a team of passionate change managers who help organizations make the most out of Microsoft 365. As a Microsoft Gold partner, we support organizations in adopting Microsoft technologies with more effective and sustainable approach to making change. We're focused on the people side of change and offer a wide range of services that resolve our clients' pain points and improve their processes, supporting them on the journey to success. But for now, I'm going to pass you over to Matt to get us started with today's session.
Great, thank you very much, Katie, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As Katie said, we're going to have about half an hour this afternoon to look at digital communities, particularly looking into a little bit about our digital champions communities at Changing Social as well, and how we can help you with the evolution of your communities. But we're going to look a little bit to begin into the background of communities and the kind of the theoretical perspective of community building, particularly digital community building. How did that all start? So digital communities, we're looking at this in the sense of the last 25 years or so, 25 years, and how they have developed enormously in that time. I'm sure I'm not the only person on this call today who remembers that kind of that birth of social media in the early to mid 2000s and rise of platforms like MySpace, especially the emergence of forums, message boards, bringing communities together in a way that had never happened before. That place for people to gather, to share information online in a way that we hadn't seen previously. That social media boom also included Items like Facebook, Twitter, obviously called X now, LinkedIn, and connecting not just individuals from a social perspective, but professionals on a global scale as well. And this has showed us the potential in digital communities to bring together vast networks of people. And then we go forwards a bit more into the rise of our messaging apps and our collaboration spaces, tools like Slack, like Zoom, and of course, Microsoft Teams as well. These have developed into places that aren't just for chatting. They were designed in a way to improve directly how we work together and how we collaborate together. Especially during the pandemic, we obviously saw a massive forced rise in the use of these tools. But these tools have now become our go-to for keeping projects moving, and it's affected recruitment practices massively as well. And we're in organizations where we're working with people all at different locations. And then looking ahead, we're at that point now where digital communities are more than social tools. They're more than just work tools. They're a blend of both. They're places where we can learn from each other, where we can solve problems together, where we innovate together as well. And as we see more and more advancements in technology, particularly around artificial intelligence, we're personalizing these spaces to make them work better for us. Now, looking at the impact of digital communities, we see the integral role that they play in shaping the modern workplace. They're the foundations that organizations are standing on to work together to innovate, collaborate, and ultimately to maintain that competitive edge. Think about how those communities have dissolved geographic barriers, enabling colleagues all over the world to collaborate with the same ease as if they were sat in the same room together. The convenience of real-time collaboration has become embedded in our workday so quickly, thanks to digital platforms and communities within platforms like Microsoft Teams. These platforms have become venues where company culture is nurtured, displayed. It's not just tangible items, it's culture that can be seen online as well. We celebrate achievements, we exchange knowledge, we articulate our goals, we provide updates, ultimately ensuring that our company's values are lived out in those daily interactions. The role of digital communities in learning and innovation as well can't be overstated. They're lively hubs for exchanging that knowledge where every conversation has the potential to lead to that next great breakthrough. Again, fostering that culture of continuous improvement. And in a sense of staying agile, analytics from our interactions are crucial when we're working digitally. They offer insight into how engaged our teams are, which strategies are resonating, and where we can improve, enabling us to adapt with speed and precision. And finally, digital communities are clearly pivotal to how we operate, providing platforms that enhance our efficacy and cohesiveness as an organization. As these platforms are evolving, we're equipped not only to keep pace, but also to set the pace in a rapidly changing digital environment. So what's next? Where are we going next with these communities? As we step into a world where particularly AI, but VR and AR as well, are becoming quickly a part of our daily work lives, with team meetings in virtual spaces that feel as real as the conference room starting to become the norm. Technologies are set to make online interactions even more engaging and even more lifelike in the coming years. We're also looking at a future where switching between digital tools is smooth and it's effortless. That seamless connectivity means that we can stay in those communities without skipping a beat, no matter the device or the platform we're using. We've seen a big set of progress with that in recent years between mobile technology and working on laptops or tablets as another device as well. We're likely to see that in the future with more devices also. Concerns over data privacy are growing. Technologies are like blockchain, giving control back to the users. This shift towards decentralization is about creating digital communities where trust and security are paramount. And finally, we're moving towards communities that not only know what we like, but can also anticipate our needs. There's predictive analytics, machine learning. Those communities of tomorrow will help us to work smarter with admin tasks and also decision making becoming more informed and more streamlined as well. As we embrace these advancements, digital communities are going to become more integrated, more intuitive, and quite simply indispensable to our working lives. Now, a lot has changed since that pandemic that we all lived through in 2020, and almost every organization globally has witnessed a dramatic shift in how they work. The pandemic, even though technologies were prevalent beforehand, it really ushered in the hybrid and remote working era, leading us to heavily rely on digital communities for collaboration. Tools like Teams have become our new virtual offices, and hybrid work is now the norm. Communities are those main venues where we connect, we collaborate, no matter where we are in the world. And at the same time, we've seen a move from merely just connecting online with our colleagues to creating meaningful communities. Shared digital workspaces, integrated project management tools have become central in keeping teams united. Now those workspaces have become community focused, serving as platforms for sharing success, ideating, supporting well-being, and going beyond basic task management. And lastly, the role of community managers has evolved significantly. Initially, the shift from digital first interactions required new leadership within our spaces. Community managers are those people who moderate our communities, they guide our communities and nurture these spaces alongside your culture. They're strategic parts of organizations, and they're essential people for maintaining the health and energy of your digital communities and aligning them with your broader organizational goals. These changes do reflect a broader evolution in our workplace culture, where digital community dynamics have become integral to how we operate as organizations, both in the UK, in the US, and the rest of the world as well. So digital champions. Digital champions are people who can come from anywhere within your organization. They can come from the top floor at executive level, right down to the shop floor and those frontline workers that you have in your organization as well. Actually, people with varying job roles is imperative for a successful champions network. For champions networks to work and to achieve their goals, if everyone is from one business area, like HR, like communications or sales, it's not going to meet organizational goals because you're concentrating that effort into one particular place. Nor should they be from IT roles like the service desk, for example. Having people from various roles across your organization brings a different perspective and helps you to build that community. It helps people to break down some of those silos that you might have, some of those organizational barriers to communication that might exist as well. And it can even help with the common disconnect between the rest of the business and IT teams that we know exist in a lot of big organizations. Why does this happen? Because each person will approach learning from a different vantage point. During the learning journey that champions are taken on, they'll pick up on different advantages, different ways in which the 365 tools fit together to showcase back to their teams. As this gets shared more widely, it helps the organization to realize the benefits for all different parts of the business and contribute to the building of awareness, desire, and knowledge of your product. Three key components in that ADKAR model for change management. ADKAR, awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement are the building blocks for creating change from a human perspective. The more choices made by champions that fit into this model, the better. That's the model that we use when we're helping clients on their change journeys, and our champion program is a key component of that work that we do. So we know that champions can come from anywhere in the organization, but identifying the right people is absolutely vital to your success. Having varying roles from around the organization isn't enough on its own. You need the right type of person, right type of people who are showcasing the right behaviors in order to make your community and make your change programs a success. When you are looking for champions around your organization, there are a few things to consider. Firstly, having champions that are nominated, or a word that we like to use is voluntold, being told to volunteer for something, results in a higher drop-off rate than champions who joined, who wanted to be a part of the program, people who nominated themselves. You need your champions to nominate themselves because they feel like they can make a difference. We'll go into this in a little bit more detail later on, but champions need to be willing to learn and take knowledge in like a sponge. But again, just taking that knowledge in isn't enough to be a good champion. We need people to openly share their learning with their team, with their department, in places like team meetings, for example, with the communications team and with outer loop communications to answer questions for individuals when asked as well. So your champions really can come from anywhere, but they need to be people who want to help their colleagues, who want to demonstrate to their teammates better ways that things can be done. They need to be passionate about new ways of working. That passion, that enthusiasm, that desire for change, along with looking at new ways of working, is what will drive your digital communities forward and drive your change programs forward as well. That enthusiasm is a key driver for success. Enthusiasm breeds enthusiasm. And if someone already has that attitude, we're off to a great start with that as an individual. If you think about an enthusiastic community, we're off to a great start with that as a group of people as well. Now, someone doesn't need to be a complete technical whiz, for example. And in fact, people who probably are like that won't get the biggest outputs from this program. They need to be passionate more than they need to be completely tech savvy. And asking people to be champions is usually a part of someone else's role. They have a day job to be completing as well. But champions need to be people who have the capacity to invest time and people who are willing to spend that time completing structured learning. Of course, from a management perspective, that time needs to be made clear and honest, the time required there. But once that time is clear, the champions are signing up to an investment throughout the length of the engagement, throughout the length of that 12-month engagement that we run with them. People need to be effective communicators or need to be willing to practice their communication in order to become effective. We want champions to share learning, as we mentioned. So people being able to do that effectively will lead, they will inspire, and they'll engage others from around the organization. Identifying these right people is done on our programs right at the start of the engagement through well-considered recruitment communications, through surveys, through sign-up forms, and through workshops as well. You've got to be really careful with the language and the wording of these communications, and that has to strategically attract the right people onto the program and map out a recruitment campaign. We'll consider those points there. Ultimately, we're looking for leaders, whether those are existing leaders or your future leaders. Now, when Microsoft talk about champions programs, they talk about getting 10% of your organization to be champions, to set yourselves up for success. That's a lot of people. If you imagine a 10,000 seat organization, that's trying to create and maintain a community of 1,000 people. That is difficult. We recommend 3 to 5% of your organization as a good number of champions to recruit. They are our recruitment targets when we start our champions programs, and they are the numbers where we see the best results from our champions programs as well. It's ultimately about the quality and the qualities that those people have, not the quantity of champions. Having 200 quality champions is having a is a better impact, going to have a better impact than having 1,000 people who've been voluntold to sign up, who don't want to be there, who don't understand why they're a part of that community, and ultimately aren't going to show that passion and that enthusiasm that will go through the rest of the organization and drive that change. So we've talked about how champions can lead that charge on change, but it's more than that. So to talk you through a few other reasons why champions are important in this day and age as well. Firstly, you can see there that that people help to scale user adoption. This is because on a more practical level, a project or program team can only reach so far and only have so many contacts when it does come to driving adoption. Having a larger team, a larger community, can help you to reach the wider organization. And on a deeper level, when taking human behaviors into consideration, it also comes down to vulnerability. Asking for help with something is opening yourself out to be a bit vulnerable, and that is hard for a lot of people to do. Because when we're being vulnerable, we're opening ourselves up to potential judgment and potential feelings of emotions that don't lend too well. Being able to open up and have the confidence to speak and not worry is a skill, and it doesn't come naturally to all people. If we're more likely to ask those questions to the people we know, ask those questions to our colleagues, those people that we feel safe around, people that we feel safe about showing that vulnerability to, we're going to adopt more new ways of working within our organization. We're not having to go directly to an IT team to ask a question or to someone we don't know to ask a question. We can ask that trusted colleague and help to develop those adoption efforts in that manner. Champions also help their colleagues and teams' productivity. They help to identify new ways of working and know what problems to solve through that. Productivity is, of course, vital for any business growth. And when you're getting that greater output from the same amount of input, you're saving money with reduced effort. Of course, that is what helps a business to remain profitable, but profitability doesn't drive that passion in people. It's not what most people are in it for. People aren't looking for that organizational profit. We need a what's in it for me, people to understand the people side of change and to make change successful. Change is not successful without people. So champions going through a structured curriculum of learning, teaching others how to use M365 is absolutely key. And then finally, champions communities are also really important in terms of the pressure reduced on IT support teams. Recent research figures show that IT support tickets cost on average £10 each. In one of your digital communities, think of Digital Champions, for example, we see over 5 questions a day. If those questions are all going through the service desk, that equates to over £18,000 a year, just from 5 questions a day within a Champions community. We know that there's more questions out there than that as well, which don't come directly through our Champions communities. It makes sense to reduce that amount of tickets that come through your service desk. Your community of champions who are going through that curriculum of learning, who are also sharing knowledge with the rest of your organization, means that less calls are going to be directed to that support desk. So when we think about community building, there's 4 elements that we focus on in terms of those practical solutions and strategies for community building. Firstly, communication is absolutely key, and a term that we love to use at Changing Social across everything that we work on is start with why. You might see a logo in the bottom corner of your screen there that bears a resemblance to Simon Sinek's Golden Circle, and this is because everything that we do at Changing Social starts with why, and that's exactly how your communities need to run as well. Your community needs a purpose. It needs to align with your overall strategy, and that purpose, the reason for having that community, the importance of that community, the why needs to be flowing through all of your communication. Leadership buy-in is vital as well, and so important in terms of executive sponsorship and driving that change. Leading figures reinforce the why that you've set for your communications. We've already talked about the importance of investing time into digital communities, both as owners and as participants. But so many people in organizations are time poor right now. We come across a lot of people who are really interested in joining our programs, particularly our Digital Champions program, but they don't feel like they have the time to do so. When senior leadership figures are actively sponsoring our programs, that gives people the permission, the safety to spend time focusing on this learning program, because ultimately, as we'll see later on in today's call, there are positive returns on investment to that time that is spent learning on this program. If leadership advocate for that, if leadership encourage that, you will see a more active, more engaged, more successful community. Along the way, though, that community is likely to face pockets of resistance when they're trying to drive technological change and change to ways of working as well. There's always going to be people out there with a fixed mindset who like the way they work. They're not looking to change, whether that is through apathy, whether that's through a perceived lack of time to implement any change, whether that is simply through unconscious incompetence potentially. But understanding the source of that resistance, the reasons for that resistance, and enabling that to bring people onto your change journey is vital to manage that resistance where required. And lastly, a point that we touched on earlier, but we need to reiterate all the way through our programs, is self-nomination. Quite simply, the best community members are the people who want to be there. If they want to be there, if they're passionate about the why that has been communicated all the way through the program, and also they have the skill to communicate effectively with their peers, they are going to be fantastic champions. People who are nominated by managers, on the other hand, are more likely to be passive contributors, just passive people within a community, and have less of an impact on the desired change. If you have a community full of those passive people, you're not going to achieve the goals that you've set out to achieve. So in terms of the impact of our Digital Champions programs and what that does look like in reality, here's some figures that we've taken recently from the start of one of our Champions programs. And you can see here how we measure data all the way through our programs. We take a benchmarking survey, or we perform a benchmarking survey at the start of our program, which you can see on the left-hand side of your screen there. And each confidence benchmark is reassessed at the end of each learning campaign. Our learning campaigns on this program are quarterly, so every 3 months we ask the same questions. We understand how that has developed, how confidence has developed amongst our digital communities. And you can see here the rapid development across a lot of different tools, particularly across tools that weren't adopted widely beforehand. If you look at your Planner, your To-Do, even SharePoint there, tools that people weren't using in this organization at the start of the program, very quickly within 6 months become tools that people are confident using, that people can take away and provide support to the business with as well. And then in terms of productivity savings, this is another question that we ask of our champions. We ask them about their learning. We understand what they're taking out of the training, out of the community management that they're benefiting from. And we ask them after 3 months of the program, how much time are you saving as a result of the tips that have been shared with you and the learning that you have taken on board? Our average across all of our programs is 2.4 hours per week. Imagine having 2.4 hours per week. Across 3 weeks, that's a day saved. That's more than 15 days per year, or 3 weeks per year, that can be saved by each individual in your organization if they're saving 2.4 hours a week. And we can look at that in terms of productivity savings as well. Now, of course, these are average figures, estimated figures that we have used in these calculations here. But in a 10,000 seater organisation with an average salary of £40,000 per year, so that works out at an hourly cost of £22.69 per hour. Look at these figures. Now, these figures are rounded to the nearest thousand, but you can see here the impact that this has across, of course, 100% of your organisation. That is going to be a massive saving, 2.4 hours a week. But we're honest, it's probably unrealistic to expect every single person in your organisation to benefit as much as the champions do, and to have that average go across the whole organisation. But look at some of those potential savings across 10% of your organisation, which is realistic, across 5% of your organisation, which is very realistic, across 1% of your organisation, which is a given. The potential saving, the potential return on your investment is really, really positive with a programme like this. So how do we do that? How do we get the most out of our community members? How do we engage them? How do we motivate them? How do we keep them active on this change journey throughout a 12-month programme? Firstly, we enliven the journey. We create exciting campaigns that we know are required in organisations from our extensive work, our extensive feedback that we've received over a number of years. We collate this with inclusive communications as well, ensuring that champions are valued and engaged. We have quizzes, we have competitions, we have a leaderboard, we have a gamified element of fun that keeps motivation levels high throughout the programme. It's a chance for people to continue their education as well. Champions should be go-to experts in your organisation once they're settled into the programme and once they've taken on their learning. To maintain this, learning doesn't just come to an end. Microsoft products are evergreen. We need to utilise resources like Microsoft Learning Pathways, like Viva Learning, alongside our expert-led webinars to ensure that knowledge remains current. We also have a community manager who supports people to reach those goals that they have set and updates any changes within the Microsoft ecosystem as well. Personalised rewards, those tailored rewards that are an excellent way to show appreciation for your champions, considering what motivates them individually, what motivates them as a group. Is that verbal recognition from a leader? Is it signs of career development? Is it identifiable goals that they can reach towards, personal goals that can help them to advance their career? Is it something else? Providing rewards that resonate with individuals, with the people in your community, are going to increase their engagement, increase their motivation, because ultimately everybody likes to be thanked for the work they've done. Everybody likes to be rewarded if they've done something well, and they're more likely to do that again in the future as well. And the value of recognition just can't be overstated. Celebrating champions' achievements, whether through digital badges, whether through formal recognition in team meetings, it's going to boost their morale. You're not only recognising their effort, but you're also demonstrating their value to your entire organisation. And to finish off this look at digital communities, just want to take you through a very quick case study of a champions community that we have run with Johnson Controls. Johnson Controls faced a challenge with the shift to remote work. They needed to better utilise their Microsoft tools to adapt to a hybrid work environment. And recognising that gap, they saw an opportunity to enhance their digital skills across the board with our Digital Champions programme as their solution. It grew quickly. We recruited people really quickly. There was a strong desire for digital advancement among employees. Partnering with Changing Social helped to manage that growth effectively. And our expertise not only maintained high engagement, but also expanded the programme's reach and the programme's impact, with over 500 active participants within this community. The initiative wasn't just about numbers. The real success to Johnson Controls is how that group of digital champions started to drive change. With that support from their day-to-day community manager from Changing Social, the environment at Johnson Controls became ripe for continuous learning and digital exploration. Looking ahead, Johnson Controls are committed to fostering that momentum, aiming to cultivate digital leaders from that group of champions who are going to spearhead further innovation and transformation within their organisation. And Katie, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Matt. That was great. So over to you, folks. Are there any further questions? If so, please pop them in the Q&A box at the top. I don't think we have any so far, Matt, so I think we are all good. So if you enjoyed today's session and you're looking to build your digital community and expand your existing one, then look no further than Changing Social. To find out a little bit more about our digital champions or to receive a 15-minute discovery call, please use the form. I'll pop it in the chat now and head over to the Changing Social website to see how we can help you. That concludes our webinar today, so thank you very much for your time and for being so engaging with us. We really do appreciate it. So on that note, from me, myself and Matt, have a wonderful rest of your day and we hope you found this webinar useful, and thanks again for your time. Take care, everyone.